Math 7, Unit 4, Percent and Proportion, Lesson 5, Part 2, Percent of Change. Finding percent of change. So I can calculate a percent of change. Important thing to note, a percent of change tells how much something changes as compared to its original value. So it is a ratio of the change. So it's the change compared to the original. So percent of change, the amount of change divided by the original amount. Then you change it to a percent. Now, we learned back in Unit 1 how to calculate change. Change is just how something ends up minus how it starts. So we're just going to be using subtraction to find change. The book actually gives two different equations for calculating percent change. I'm just going to go with the simple amount of change. You have to subtract to get the amount of change and then divide by the original amount. So let's look at some examples. Find each percent of change. Round to the nearest whole percent if necessary. State whether the percent of change is an increase or decrease. So our first example, the amount of change is 1. Going from 4 to 5 is an increase of 1. You compare that to the original amount. That is 0.25. You change it to a percent. This is 25% change. Now it did go from 4 up to 5, so that is an increase. This is a 25% increase. Next example. Going from 1 to 1.3, that is a change of 0.3. So 0.3 compared to the original 1 is 0.3. Change it to a percent, it's 30%, and since it went up, it is a 30% increase. Next example. Going from 15 to 12. First, the amount of change is 15 minus 12, 3. You take the amount of change and compare it to the original. And 3 divided 15 is 0.2. Change that to a percent. 20%, this time it went down, so this is a 20% decrease. Next example. Going from $30 to $18. First, calculate the amount of change. 12. 30 minus 18 is 12. And then we're going to put it over the original amount, 30. And that comes out 0.4. Change that to a percent, it's 40%. 30 to 18 is going down, so it's a 40% decrease. Next example, the original is 60, the new is 63. That would be 63 minus 60, giving us a change of 3. We need to compare that to the original, 60. That gives us 0.05, change to a percent. This is 5% and it went up, so it is an increase, 5% increase. Next example, going from 160 to 136, first you find the amount of change. 160 minus 136 is 24. We'll take 24 and divide it by the original, 160, and we get 0.15. Change that to a percent, it is 15%, and this went down, so it's a 15% decrease. Next example. We go from 7.7 to 10.5. First, find out the amount of change. 10.5 minus 7.7 is 2.8. We're going to put 2.8 over the original 7.7. So 2.8 divided by 7.7 is 0.363636. A bunch of repeating. As a percent, that's going to be 36%. It did say in the instructions to round to the nearest whole percent. And this one went up, so this is a 36% increase. Okay, last example on this video. The original is 9.6, the new is 5.9. We start by finding out how much change there is. 9.6 minus 5.9 is 3.7. We're going to take that and divide it by the original, 9.6. Okay, 3.7 divided by 9.6 is 0.385. There's a lot of it after that. Rounding to the nearest whole percent, though, would be 39%. This one goes down, so it is a 39% decrease.